There we go. Now I can hear you.
You got me now?
Yeah. It's not you. It's me, man.
Okay, cool. Perfect.
How's it going? How you doing, man?
I'm doing really good. Really good. Yeah. How about yourself?
I'm really well, man. I thought we would just jump into recording. I'll edit out that little
Oh, yeah.
couple minutes of me trying to figure out my headphones.
Sure. No worries.
How you doing this morning, man? How's it going?
It's going really good. It's going really good. Sunday mornings are always good. My son's 6. He's in hockey now. So we had a hockey game this morning and then just got home, had breakfast with the family and stuff. I usually on Sunday mornings, I'll do a group Zoom call with all my coaching clients. So we get to kind of touch base, see how the week was and answer any questions. So always busy, but always good. Yeah. How about yourself?
That's wicked, man. Yeah, Sunday's like kind of like my recovery day. So like I usually do like a little jog in the morning. Well, I run every morning, but Sunday's like more of a laid back, like a little jog. And then I do yoga in the morning. I went to the grocery store and then it's like meal prep and laundry for the rest of the day.
Yeah, exactly. I was just, I got a meal prep kind of going right now too. Just threw some chicken into the air fryer and yeah, I usually keep it pretty simple. What do you normally do for your meal preps?
I do probably pretty similar. I usually do like I've been doing a lot of couscous actually instead of rice. But
Okay.
Typically like my lunches throughout the week are just like rice, chicken, broccoli, or like some beef, broccoli, and rice. Like that's
Yeah,
pretty
same.
simple.
Yeah,
My dinners are typically like a steak and salad, and then breakfasts are like eggs, a little bit of bacon if I need more fat, and then
yeah,
I just have fruit throughout the day for a snack, man. That's my meals.
yeah.
It's pretty simple,
Keep it
man.
simple. Nice. Feels good. Yeah, just keep it clean. That's nice.
Yeah. So tell me about yourself, man, because I came across your page and I was like, dude, I really like the way you speak. I like the way you think about like just life in general. Like just what kind of attracted me the most to your page was obviously like the fitness stuff, but also the stoicism. Like you talk a lot about like Marcus Aurelius, which is like a big passion
Yeah.
of mine as well, man.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's it's something I've really gotten into over the last couple of years. So this last like 2 years since basically the beginning of 2020 has been really a transformational journey for me. Up until that point, I was basically just doing the normal day to day, like what quote unquote most people live like just working Monday to Friday. And the weekends would roll around. It'd be like, okay, kick your feet up, have some burgers and beers, take it easy, and then start over again. But I always felt like there was something missing, like there was like something deeper to this whole journey that we're on, right? And I never really understood what it could be, what it might be. And it was always like a negotiation with myself. Like I would always like look at it like I thought I was being grateful. Anytime I was having those thoughts, I'd be like, okay, well, just look how good your life is. You have a family, you have a good job, everything's good. And then I would kind of like, I just put it off. Those deeper thoughts, I would kind of put them aside. But then at the beginning of 2020, as we got into the first round of COVID lockdowns, everything changed, right? I was working from home, was forced to really spend a lot of time with myself. And then around like March, April is when I started really like doing some soul searching and was like, okay, I had to take an honest look at myself, the way I was living my life. And then my kids are starting to look at me like, what kind of habits am I showing them? And that kind of was the spark for me. And then it just went from there. Just wanting to obviously feel better. Like I was overweight. I wasn't feeling healthy. I was doing the like I said, just eating, drinking, whatever, still kind of working out. But so what started off as just wanting to make some changes in terms of health and fitness and maybe change some of my habits, it turned into something way more with what you see on my page now.
Yeah, it's wicked, man. Because I feel like so similar to that, man, because I used to work, I've worked tons of different jobs in my life, man. I'm one of those guys that just bounced from industry to industry. I worked in, gyms, I worked in restaurants, I've worked in construction. That's where I work right now. And
Yeah,
I've had that same feeling where like you're just doing your Monday to Friday, like 9 to 5 thing. And then on the weekends, you kind of have that internal conversation, like, you've worked hard and, you have your friends, your family around, like you should just like kind of be grateful for what you have. You don't need to work that much harder on the weekends. Like just chill out.
Yeah.
And, it's like this funny dance between like gratitude and just complacency or like comfortability. And like,
Yeah.
did you have like a point where it just like clicked for you? Like, did you have like a point where like it was like maybe like a rock bottom or something where you were like, I mean, for lack of a better word, like, fuck, man, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, that's
Yeah.
kind of like, did you
There
have
was.
anything like that?
There was definitely. It was one day, and I talk about it sometimes. And I remember the date as well. It was like on April 28th, 2020. So it was a Tuesday, and I had just spent the weekend like just basically treating myself like garbage. Ate way too much, drank too much, and it was one of those days where it was like it wasn't just Monday. It was like still Tuesday, and I still felt like shit from the weekend. So it was like on Tuesday afternoon, I'm sitting there. I had my office set up in the basement. It's just like dead silent. And I just felt like trash. And like it was just something weird about that moment, thinking back to it now. Like it was just like the way I felt, it was kind of eerie. And I was having this it's not even a thought, it was just like a feeling like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? Like, what is this? Like, and it wasn't really even like it wasn't anything external like my job and all that stuff. It was like internally, like what am I doing to myself through my actions, right? And I was thinking about my family, my kids, and like right at that moment, both my boys like ran downstairs. They would come down to like visit me every couple hours or whatever. And it was like in that moment as they came, so I'm playing with them as they're coming in, but at the same time I'm having these thoughts like, okay, like I need to change for these guys right here. Like it needs to happen now. And then from that day, everything just went, I just did a complete 180. Like I was like, okay, I'm fucking working out every day. I'm changing my diet. And like I didn't go into it thinking I'm never gonna drink alcohol again, but I was like, I just need to take a break from alcohol. And it turned into me never drinking again. I haven't had a drink since that weekend. And it was like one of the best decisions ever, because it's like something that I was never really one of those people who would be like drinking every single day, but it would be something I was look forward to on the weekend, and it would remove that ability to go to a deeper place, because it would be like, okay, the weekend's here, now it's time to forget about anything that's going on, right? So that was kind of the moment that everything shifted for me, for sure.
Yeah. And I just feel like, especially like I'm not a father yet, man. And, that I know of, but I just think that like, I feel like when you have that kind of purpose in your life, like there's a guy that I speak to all the time on my podcast, his name's Zach. And, he's got 4 boys and he talks a lot about how that just gives him so much more purpose. Like, I feel like I've been having conversations a lot with people because I like the same way that you do your calls on Sunday mornings. I have a call on Saturday morning, which I run with like community based around mental health. And literally the topic that we were kind of discussing today was, one of the people in the group was kind of discussing this feeling of, or I guess a lack of a feeling of purpose. Like he just kind of was like, I work, in a construction job, and it's not like I'm passionate about fucking building walls, like,
Yeah.
so I just get up and I build walls all day and I come home and I do some reading and, like he's just like feeling like he's just repeating his life over and over again, like with no
Yeah.
purpose.
What I found is really that feeling, and we're always looking for the answer to that outside of ourselves. So we think it's because we're not doing something with our job, or we're not starting this business, or we're not killing it in some external way, but really it's because there's a lack of the internal work. We haven't gotten the chance to really put that work in to get to know ourselves on that level. So we just feel like something is missing. And it's so, if you really think about it, it's so easy because it's right in front of you the whole time. Like everything that you're looking for is within you, right? And like I remember driving to work, the same job that I have now, just like, fuck, I can't believe like I have to get up and go to work again. And like the same thing, just negotiating with myself, okay, just be grateful that you have a job. And now because I put the work in every single day, like I start my day with some meditation, I do a workout, and I do some reading. Every single day, I put that effort and energy into myself. So everything I do is that much better, and it's nothing external. It's all because of the internal work, right? So I think that's a massive thing for me, is just realizing that yeah, the external stuff matters. Obviously, you want to make progress externally, but really just that shift of perspective and giving that love and energy to yourself just changes everything completely.
Yeah, I feel you 100% because it's funny. My whole family, we do like home renovations and like restoration work. And so when I was like just getting out of high school, that's what I did. I was like an apprentice carpenter,
Yeah,
and I did it for like 2 years, and then I was like, man, I hate this. Like I'm just doing the same thing over and over again, and it feels like labor, and I feel like it's not like a long-term scalable business because I was just doing all the grunt work. Like it didn't make sense to me, and I really couldn't see the purpose, and it frustrated me. And I just felt like, yeah, I just felt like it was mindless. And it's because I just wasn't living with intention, right? Like I left, I went and worked in gyms for a couple of years. I worked in restaurants for a couple of years, and I ended up coming back, and now working in the exact same line of work, I view it completely differently now. Like I have a
yeah,
complete shift in mindset. And even though I'm doing the same stuff, I feel so much more fulfilled. I feel like way happier. And I mean, we can get into it because I was going to ask you. So like what kinds of things like, because when me and you talk about this, it kind of sounds vague for someone that's listening, right? Like they're like, what are they talking about when they say like reflect inward and then take a look inside? So like, I guess
yeah.
like, how did you start that journey for yourself?
Well, I mean, at the beginning, it was just a matter of, like, it started off as very juvenile. Like I was just like, okay, I just need to wake up early and exercise. And and then in that it kind of took form from there, like step by step, right? And I'm like, okay, well, maybe I should do some reading. And I started reading. I got into Stoic philosophy just because I like the fact that these messages, like in these books and the quotes, they're like thousands of years old, but they're still relevant today, right? And it's like it's so basic, but then it applies to your life in so many different ways. So just reading those and just seeing how relevant they are, how they apply to life, and then really just sitting with. For me, it was I had to force myself to look at everything that I had been avoiding. So anytime I tried to make a change like this in the past, I think one of the reasons I always failed was I was trying to bring old habits and things with me, and I was just trying to add to them. Like, okay, I want to keep this stuff, I still want to eat what I want, and I still want to drink on the weekends, but I need to get healthier, so I would try to exercise and whatever. But this time I was like, okay, I need to remove the shit that's not working first. And then I had to be honest with myself. So I took that as part of when I started doing meditation, I would sit there and I would go into thought about, okay, what are some of the things that I've been doing or that I've done that have caused me or people around me pain, right? Like times that I fucked up, or I said something I shouldn't have, or I drank too much and I embarrassed myself, or things that really like hurt me and that I had regret about. Like that was really the starting point. And I think it's really something that a lot of us missed when we think about like meditation and this stuff. Like we think it's just like sitting and having positive affirmations and thinking happy thoughts, and that stuff's important too, but we really need to deal with the pain side of it and like sit there and think about it. And it's really the only way to get past it and let it go, right?
Yeah, 100%. Meditation has always been something that I like. I just started connecting the dots with it because, I had the flawed thought that I was like, oh, well, meditation is like not thinking, and I can't not think. My brain always races. And
Yeah,
then I realized like that is the practice. Like your brain's supposed to race, and then you're supposed to chase, well, not chase the thought, but just kind of like observe it and see
yeah,
what comes up.
get back from it, exactly.
I feel like we got really similar personalities, man, sometimes because when you speak, you're like thinking about, or you're talking about the things you reflect on. And it's very similar about the things that I beat myself up for as well, man. Like, cause
Yeah, Yeah, for sure. And then, yeah, even I know I've been following you for a bit, and I've been watching obviously your videos and your content, and that's one of the things that that led me to shoot you a message and say, hey man, if there's ever a chance to talk to you on your podcast, is because like I feel like a lot of the messages and the things that you talk about are right in line with everything that I've been really doing. So yeah, for sure, it's definitely a lot of similarities there.
Yeah, because just like for me, would because you journal, right? I noticed like you do
I
journal
do.
sometimes as well.
Yeah,
Did
yeah,
you
I do.
start journaling first, or did you start meditating first?
I started meditating first. Journaling, I've actually just recently added in over the last couple of months here.
Yeah, see, I was the opposite. I found it so like journaling I started beforehand, and for me that was like kind of like the same entryway into like I guess mindfulness or reflectiveness that you had with meditation. Because um like I bought my first journal. It was uh dude, it was the day I put in my resignation while I was still working at the gym that I was working at. And I
Okay.
was thinking, if I'm giving my month's notice, I should use this next month wisely. I thought about it. I was like, I'm on salary, so I'm being paid for the month. And if I have to be here and run the gym, any free time that I have, I'm going to plan for the future when I don't have a job. Like that was the way I thought, right?
Yeah.
So I literally went to like the store right around the corner, bought a journal and sat down in my office, and I just started writing down all the things I would do to improve myself or make myself happier if I had the time. Because that was the excuse I always used before. I was like, oh, I don't have the time. I got to work out. I got to work. I got to meal prep. Like I just don't have enough time in the day to do the things I want to do.
Yeah.
So I just made a list. I was like, all right, then if I had the time, what would I do to improve myself? Like what are some of the things I look in the mirror and I see, I fucking hate this. Like I hate looking at that in the mirror, whether
Yeah.
it's like something physical or something that you can kind of, because I don't know if you kind of had this feeling, but I remember looking in the mirror and physically like seeing my physique, and I didn't think about it as if I obviously saw it and it was like that's not the physique I want,
Yeah.
but it was the feelings about the physique that made me feel embarrassed.
Yeah.
Like you know because I knew my friends, and I don't think that they actually think about these things. This was like an internal conversation, but I was like, I know my friends know I work out every day. So if they see this physique, they know I obviously eat like shit
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there's no out training that. So like the proof is right there. It shows that I lack discipline, even though that's something I talk about having.
Yeah. Absolutely. I definitely had those thoughts because, like I said, even before this past couple of years, like I was always into working out. Like since I got my first gym pass when I was in high school, and then it was always kind of off and on. Like I would have times when I would go really hard, and then I would kind of fall off for a bit. But my physique, like same thing, and never really got to the point where what I was really proud of and what I wanted because of the diet and then the bad habits and stuff, right? So I would definitely have that, and the same thing, like the thought would be like, you look at yourself and you're like, what is the point of all this work that I'm doing, right? And I think that's one of the other excuses that I would use all the time to kind of eat and drink whatever I wanted, because it's like, it doesn't matter what I do. Like I'm showing up at the gym, it's not changing my body. So what difference does it make if I eat like shit or I don't? But at the end of the day, it was just really just lying to myself because my diet wasn't what it should have been, right? And I think through that is another reason, like being honest with myself about that, and then just saying, okay, I need to stick to this even through the weekends. I need to just like go 100% into this. And then I started seeing the progress that resulted in more discipline, because now I'm like, okay, I'm actually getting somewhere with this. And then it kind of started that positive cycle, right? Where you start to see some results, you start working harder, you gain more discipline. There's actually there's a reason behind what you're doing. And yeah, everything just kind of just kept evolving from there.
Have you noticed now that like because it seems like since you've kind of started this journey, like you seem a lot like more confident. I didn't really talk to you before, but you seem very
Yeah,
confident when you speak. You seem very confident,
yeah,
just like looking at your posture. Do you think like it's improved like your relationships maybe with your children or with your partner?
absolutely. Absolutely, it has. Like with my wife, and definitely with my kids, and then even with work and everybody. Like I would always I would always be one of those somewhat kind of awkward people. Like I could before this, I would never imagine myself sitting here talking to you or being able to talk on camera or post something. Like I will always be nervous about stuff like that. So I think a big part of it is being able to just really remove myself from the whole equation. And I know I'm doing it for a reason, and that's to help other people and to spread a positive message, right? So how I feel about it, and though there's like obviously some things about myself I still might be a little bit insecure about, but I feel like the reason I'm doing it is more important than that, right? So it's just another way for me to force myself to be a little bit uncomfortable to get that positive message across.
Yeah, dude, I love that you said that, because me and my roommate, we were talking a lot about fears, because I have like
Yeah.
one of my biggest fears is heights. And just we went skiing like last weekend
Yeah.
over at a local mountain here in Vancouver, and we were just kind of talking about it. And we were sitting on the chairlift, and it like kind of stops, and you just like swing there, you know.
Yeah.
And dude, that just makes my stomach drop, dude. Like, and I get that physiological, like that, you know, your stomach shrinks and your heart just races and your muscles tense up. And I remember he was like, "Are you like serious?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, oh, dude, like 100%." And he's like, "But you still go skiing?" Like, and I'm like, "Yeah, because the the pleasure I get from doing it is more than the feeling that like the hatred that I have for that feeling. Like I don't mind that feeling as much as I love to ski." And
Yeah.
it's like the same thing with the podcast. Like, dude, it's so funny because I record probably like 2-3 episodes a week, you know, either by myself or with someone else. And literally the 10-15 minutes, sometimes the whole hour leading up to the point where I record, I'm like, fuck, what if I sound like an idiot? I'm going to stutter. What if I lose track of my thought, or if I don't
Yeah.
listen well and then I sound dumb? And I'm just so self-conscious, literally up until the point where we hit record. And then I'm like, okay, we're good.
Yeah, for sure. I remember it was about a year ago now, the first time I actually posted a video on Instagram on my story of me talking. And it was like I was like shitting my pants. I was like, fuck, like I look at, like I don't look how I want to look. I sound like an idiot. And then it was just like, okay, I just need to get over this and just put it out there, right? And then obviously the first time is going to be the hardest one. And then from there, like I did like 10 takes, right? And I was just like, okay, fuck it, whatever. I'm just going to put it up. And then from there, like it just gets easier and easier. And then, like you said, sometimes it's like you still kind of have, you second guess yourself, like, fuck, like, does this sound okay? But it's just, yeah, I find if you just force yourself to do it, and then some of those ones that you second guess end up being the best ones, right? And yeah, just I like that though, that the forcing yourself to be uncomfortable is huge. Like it's growth in itself, just making yourself do that shit, right?
Yeah, man, 100%. And just it's so funny, like the things that we fear, like if you put them in like an outside perspective, and that's like kind of like what the stoicism kind of helped me with as well, is like kind of viewing myself or my fears or the things that make me uncomfortable from like an outside perspective, as if it was like I was talking to someone that I loved that was
Yeah.
afraid of these things. And then when I was able to put it in that perspective, it's like, man, it's a no-brainer. But yeah,
Yeah.
especially when I first started recording videos, man, I wouldn't even record them at my place. Like I was too embarrassed to like speak in front of people or record in front of people. Like the very first time I made a video, I still lived at home with my parents, and I was so scared of them like hearing me and being like, "Oh,
Yeah.
my kid thinks he's Tony Robbins." You know, like
Yeah.
that's what I was like, fuck, so I would record in my car. Like if you like my very first YouTube video was like me sitting in my car, and it was like that for the first probably like 20 videos I made.
Yeah.
And now it gets to the point where like sometimes I'll have like my girlfriend or a couple buddies in, and I like they were joking with me one time. They're like, it's like you're better in front of an audience sometimes. Like I
Oh,
feel,
really?
and
Wow.
even like this, like I feel more comfortable having this discussion, like even just with you. Like it feels easier, I guess, for me, because I just think, I guess it's like kind of social confirmation, like my ideas aren't bad before I release them to the world.
Yeah, for sure. It's I find for me, just knowing that I'm actually truly living all the shit that we're talking about, and like there's no preparation needed, right? Because I mean, you're living in it day to day, and you're just talking, like there's no like thinking about what to say or whatever. It's just like being myself, and that's really a huge thing for me, because that's been one of my biggest downfalls, or my one of the things that I've struggled with so much from my younger years to up until a couple of years ago, was just thinking so much or worrying so much about what somebody's going to think about the way I act or how I'm going to talk or what I'm going to say. And then now just like knowing that I'm just living my truth and being able to talk, it makes it so much easier. And then just going back to the point that you talked about is like encouraging yourself the same way you would like somebody you love. Like I use that all the time, even when I'm encouraging people to like change their habits or change their life. Like it's like we treat other people or like our loved ones so much differently than we treat ourselves. Like if you actually like separate yourself into two people, like the person that is 100% in line with the way you should be in making progress and in loving yourself, treating yourself how you should, and then the person that a lot of us become, like we're our own worst enemy, right? So if you just look at like treat yourself the same way as you would somebody you love and care about, like you said, it's like you wouldn't do half the shit that you do, right? It's like you last weekend you fucking were hungover, you said you're never going to drink again, and then now this weekend you're making plans to go do the exact same thing, right? Like if that was your younger cousin or brother or somebody, you'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? Don't do that, right?
Yeah, bro, that was like for a long time, like in my early 20s, it was like that was me with like cigarettes, man. You know, once I started working in restaurants, it was like that is how you get your breaks. So there I was, man. And then it got into a huge habit where I was like smoking a pack a day. And that was part of my transition getting into this, like where I was like, dude, I need to run every day, because if I'm running and smoking, I feel like garbage.
Yeah, you
So
can't
like
control.
there's no way, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And that's it's really like I've been somebody like that. Like I've always needed, like I've always felt like I needed something, like some like quote unquote a fix. And now it's like you just get up and fucking get that workout in. Like you said, you get that run, you get those endorphins going, and that's way better because you actually feel good and it's sustainable. You can do it every day, right? So it's so much better than feeling like shit and looking forward to those drinks or smoking or whatever on the weekend. Is you put the work in, and then the byproduct of that is obviously you're healthy, you're in shape, and you feel good. So it's just all around a better lifestyle.
Yeah. And when you were saying like you said you had a tough time because you thought that you were going to be judged, or like what you were worried about what people were going to think about what you do or what you say. Like do you still kind of feel that way sometimes? Because I feel like when you start kind of like, I guess, giving yourself like yeah, giving yourself more attention and kind
Yeah.
of filling up your own cup, like I feel like some people are going to view that as like selfish, or they're going to think like, oh, like, you know, maybe Ranjodh thinks he's better than us. Maybe Mark thinks he's better than us. How come he can't do the things that we're doing? Well, how come he thinks he can do other things or should do other things? Like, do you
Yeah.
feel that way sometimes?
I do still have those thoughts sometimes. Like I'll still think like what somebody might think, and it's almost like it's a little bit different because I'm just being mindful of like what I might say and if it applies to anybody that's directly around me. Like I don't want to obviously offend anybody, so sometimes I might have to change up what I'm saying while still getting the same message across. But I don't really stop myself from saying things, or I don't like how I used to. It used to just stop me from doing things or stop me from doing things that I wanted to do because I was worried about what people might think. Now, even though I might be worried, I'll just force myself to do it anyways because I know I'm just like on that in that mindset of like growth and progress where that my feelings about the situation don't stop my progress. Like if I know I need to get something done, I'm going to do it because I know that's the only way to make that progress. But in terms of like people thinking that I think I'm better than them because of what I'm doing, is like, it's actually the opposite. Like, and I do try to explain that sometimes, is like, I don't think I'm better. I'm actually fucking worse, because my habits and the person I was before, I was the biggest idiot. And like everything that I'm telling you not to do, I've done that and probably 10 times worse, right? And I'm the reason I go online and I say the shit that I say and post what I post is to give the people that are in the position that I was in hope, and let them know that they don't have to stay there. Like, there's a way to change everything about yourself. And if I sat there and worried about what people thought and didn't post what I did, like, I could never get that message across, right? So it's not about me, it's about the people that are in the position that I was in and helping them, right? So if some people get offended, or some people think that I'm doing it because I think I'm better than them, then it is what it is, right? But at the end of the day, I know it's not, so I'm good with it, right?
Yeah, and I always say like I love that, man, because it's kind of like speaking to your past self. Like I
Yeah,
always think that as well. Like I always think about, you know, when I'm talking about these types of things, it's like I've either been in that position before, or I just kind of, you know, I've seen the pain that it causes. And I know like for everybody, their rock bottom is like different, but I feel like we kind of had a similar journey in that. Like I remember having that experience where I just was thinking like, I don't know what's wrong in my life. I don't know what it is, because I have a job, I have a good family, I have friends, I have a, you know, I have all these things, and I work out like I should have, you know, this internal, like, why don't I feel happy like everyone else seems to? And I just
yeah,
remember thinking to myself, like, maybe this is just what it like your journey is like. Maybe you have to work twice as hard for this happiness thing. So like that's the way I look at it. Like I like when people, like a lot of my buddies, you know, they think that because I do certain things, like I wake up early or I exercise first thing in the morning, or something like that, like they have to do that for them to like me. And I'm like, no, like this is what I have to do just to function like you, man, because I did not feel good living the way I did before. I didn't feel good for
yeah,
me.
yeah, for sure. I exact same. Like, I can definitely say that it was the exact same thing for me. Like, and being able to compare it now, like before, I didn't really know. I just knew something was wrong. But now, having lived on both sides of it, it's just like it's clear as day. Like, this is the way to live. Like, I can't go back to the other way, because I completely agree. Like, I felt like shit just waking up at the last minute, hitting snooze, and just kind of rushing around like that shit. Like, it just did not work. Like, it was tough to get through the day. Like, the smallest thing just fucks up your day, right? And then now, like, just getting your shit together first thing in the morning, and then just being calm all day, like the usual things that might screw people up or whatever, like it's just like it's just life. It's normal. You just deal with it, right? And I think a lot of the problem that we see now in the way that society tells us to live is like, it's kind of like everything's misconstrued. Like, we're told to just be happy and accept ourselves and love ourselves the way we are. And I think it's just complete bullshit, because it's not, you can't just do that. You can't just accept yourself the way you are. You have to put effort and work into accepting yourself, right? And it's like and it's not like just like temporary, like you do it for a little while and then you get to a certain spot and then you're good. And then you just go back to the other way of living. Like, you have to show up every single day. And I think part of it, and I always post about this, is like, if you look at the way we've like evolved as humans, like it just goes back to like in our DNA, like we're meant to get up and hunt just to survive, right? Like, and we live these such comfortable lives now that we don't have to worry about anything really. Like, everything's at your fingertips, like food, every comfort, it's all right there. So like all these like anxiety and all these things that we feel, if we had to get up and actually like hunt just to survive, like that shit would not be there, right? Like, it's just, and by doing this, like the lifestyle that we live is getting up early and like doing something difficult, overcoming that, and then going about your day. It's kind of simulating that in a way. Is it's giving you that feeling of accomplishment first thing in the morning, and then you're able to be okay with yourself and then go about your day. So It's just we've just become way too soft, I feel, as a society.
Dude, yeah, we can get into that for sure, because I feel that, man, 100%, because like you're saying, man, like we evolved, like our bodies, and I'm not a doctor, a scientist, man, I'm a carpenter, so take this with a grain of salt, but it's like
Yeah,
we evolved to have like kind of every single day. The way I look at it is like you had to eat every day, which means you had to get food every day, which means you
yeah,
had to be active every day. Otherwise, you
yeah.
didn't survive. If you weren't running and chasing something, like you better pray someone's feeding you, because that's like your only
Exactly.
options.
And like
And
when we have, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
well, I was just gonna say, like, I feel like that. So like where our bodies are fine tuned to have like that adrenaline rush every day. And if you don't give your body that adrenaline rush every day, it's gonna find it somewhere else. And that's why people are like so like tuned to having this anxiety or this adrenaline when they like look on Instagram and they see shit they don't agree with, and they're like, this is the threat. It's like,
Yeah,
that's because you have no other threats in your life and you're just gravitating towards that because your body
yeah.
needs something to fight against. That's how we survived.
And yeah, and that's the easiest thing to do, right? Is just sit there and talk about perceived threats or things that are not within your immediate control, and just let it like talk about it and post about it, whatever, and not do anything that's within your immediate control to make yourself feel better, right? Like all these feelings we have, this anxiety, or like if we're not feeling okay, in a way, it's kind of like it's not a bad thing. Those feelings, if we just recognize them, like, okay, I'm having this feeling, this means I need to get off my ass and do something. It doesn't mean I'm supposed to just sit there and dwell on it and think about it. So every time you're feeling like, if you're feeling anxiety, like if you're sitting on the couch and you're feeling anxiety, get off the couch and fucking go for a walk or a run, do push-ups or something. Just get your blood flowing, and guaranteed you're going to feel better, like a little bit better. It might be temporary. There might be some deeper problems there, or shit that you need to deal with, not discounting that, but being lazy and just sitting there and complaining about problems is like, it's like you're almost like, you see people doing that. It's like, okay, if you feel like shit, change your diet, like be 100% healthy, work out every day for like a week or two. And if you still have those problems, then you might have something that you actually need to deal with on a deeper level. But I mean, a lot of the problems are just straight laziness, right?
No, 100%. I get that all the time because, people get frustrated with me because when they reach out, like a lot of the time when people reach out to me when in regards to like mental health, especially in regards to like things like anxiety and depression, there's definitely a lot different, illnesses that people deal with that are
Yeah.
a lot more complex, but especially in regards to things like ADHD, anxiety or depression, like the first questions I ask someone, and again, like I'm not a doctor, but if you're going to ask me for my opinion, I'm going to give it to you. And, my first questions for people are like, how often do you journal and how often do you exercise? Like, that's like the two things. And
Right.
like, I think that goes hand in hand with like meditation, the way you're saying, like, because basically what I'm asking is, how do you reflect inwardly? And then how do you give outwardly? Like, what's the energy you're giving to the world? Is your energy just
Yeah.
like sitting down, eating Cheetos on your fucking, brushing like Cheeto dust off you, like the guy from Toy Story? You know what I'm talking about? That guy in
Yeah.
Toy Story with the Cheeto dust all over him. Like, is that the
Exactly.
energy you're giving to the world? Or are you at least going out for a walk? Are you at least going out, like you said, like, are you trying to give some energy out to the world?
Yeah. And the thing is, regardless of whether you want to or not, you're giving energy, right? Everyone you come in contact with, you're affecting, right? So it's it's so important, even for like somebody who, whether you have a family or not, but especially like if you have kids and you have a family, you're around those people like a lot of the day and at night. The way you are, whether even if it's just internal, like you don't even talk about it, those internal feelings and those thoughts, they affect everybody around you, right? So sometimes that in itself, like somebody might say, oh, I'm just doing me, I don't care to get in shape, I don't care to lose weight. And it's not even about that. It's about how you feel about yourself and how it affects everybody that you come in contact with, right? So I mean, giving that love, and it starts with yourself. You can only love somebody the same way you love yourself, right? So if you're treating yourself like garbage, and you feel like shit and you're not doing anything actively to try to make yourself feel better, that's the exact same energy that you're giving to everybody around you. Like, why would you want to bring that and to the table? Like, if imagine if everybody in the world was like that, what type of world would we live in, right?
Yeah, because I feel like, especially like, exercising, meditation, even reading or journaling, like all of those things, they seem like kind of like something physical that you're doing, but really what it is, especially like for me, and I can't really talk about how you were struggling before, but I know I struggled a lot, not only with depression and anxiety, but those kind of feelings when I was growing up, because I didn't understand them or know how to channel them, they a lot of times manifested as anger. And so for me, like once I started to journal and understand my emotions a little bit more, and talk to professionals, at some point I had to do that as well. And once I started addressing these like kind of internal feelings, and then learning how to channel that through exercise and learning how to use that as like a motivation instead of just like letting it boil over like a kettle, man. Like,
Yeah.
I just think that, especially if, in a parental position, but in any leadership position, I've noticed that when I'm on a team, I always notice my leader's energy. And like, I remember being a child as well. And I remember like, my dad's self-employed. And so you could kind of, and he's a very graceful man, but you could always kind of see, like kind of like the stress on his face sometimes, like if he was stressed, which was pretty rare, but when you could see it, And I think that people pick up on that, especially kids, and they see, I'm fortunate that I had the father that I had. He was really good at managing his emotions, but I could see that if someone didn't take care of those things, if you didn't have that good example, like, I just think that that's such a cool thing that you're doing for your children as well, because then they could look at their father and be like, okay, that's how a man should act. When he gets angry, does he scream? Does he put his hand through a wall? Does he, go to the bottle? Does he go to,
Yeah.
They kind of see your actions.
Absolutely. That's one of the things, like, I find in order to like stick to a lifestyle like this, you have to put so many things in your way that might be like, everyone has the days that you struggle where you don't feel like following through, but if you have these reasons why you need to do it, and the more of them, like if you have like a few really good reasons, like you want to be a positive person, you're doing it for your family, like all of these things are in your way. So on those days when it's tough, like I think about my kids, or on the days that I don't feel like getting up, or something feels off, and there could be a lot of other things that might be swaying me, but like that's one thing that's always there. Like, I need to be that person for my kids, right? So it's definitely it's huge. And it's like like you said, like what type of habits am I gonna show them? And it's not so much of what you're saying. Kids are just watching you all the time, right? They're so intelligent, like they read you, like how you were just saying, like you're able to see the stress on your dad's face. Like they're looking at you, they're looking at how you react to certain situations. Like, if you come home on a Friday and you've had a long week, you put your shit down, first thing you do is pour yourself a drink. You're telling them that, okay, when you're stressed out, that's what you do, you go have a drink, right? Or if you're upset and you start yelling, same thing. Like, when you're stressed out or you're angry, it's good to express your emotions in that way. So just being controlled. And it sounds like talking about it, I know for somebody who's not living this type of lifestyle, it sounds like that would be all you do, is like you just like you work out and you're just like this disciplined person, and that's all you do. But I think at the beginning it might seem like that, but once everything is flowing, and it's basically just on autopilot, it's just like you don't even think about it, right? Like, you just get up, you do your thing, you go through the process, and that's just who you are, right? And it's like, it's so much easier to live this way than to let so many things affect you. Like, and I can compare it to the person I used to be before, is like, this shit would stress me out all the time, and it would come out like in the way I was acting or the way I would react to people. Like, it's just such a difference.
Yeah, that was my biggest thing too. And it's still something that I'm still like fine tuning is like my reactions to people. I get I've been in the last year, I've been thinking a lot about like more living. And this is something I've said out loud a lot, but I never started practicing until like this, like past like 7 or 8 months. And it's just kind of living intentionally as opposed to like reactionally. I don't know, but I just I find that I react a lot more to the outside world than I'm actually like intending to. So like some
Yeah.
of the things I had to do was, because I made it a point this year to make sure I do cardio and I lift every single day. I have like dumbbells in my living room here up to 90
Yeah.
pounds and a bench. So my
Nice.
idea was like, I'll wake up and I'll do my run every morning. And then in the afternoon after work, I'll get home and do my weights for like 50 more minutes. So then I get like a good, hour and a half, 2 hours of exercise every day. But when you're doing that and you're working a full-time job and you've got like your podcast, and then you could only like, this better than I do, man. When you have other things like a wife and kids, like, dude, your time is precious time. And dude, I had to turn off all my notifications on my phone. So the only notifications I get are like texts from my friends and phone calls. Everything else is like intentional. I have to open up Instagram if I want to check my messages or look at my notifications. Like, and I've set timers on my phone. Like you can have a 10-minute window here, a 10-minute window there, but live in real world, man. Like that's kind of like the way I'm so reactionary, man. When my phone screen lights up or I hear the little ding, I'm like, I need to drop what I'm doing and answer that ding, man.
Yeah, for sure. There's so many distractions, especially with phones and everything being right in your face all the time, right? I think that living that disciplined lifestyle, it really helps because you're not constantly looking for something external to kind of keep yourself occupied, right? You're just kind of good with the way things are, and it really goes back to like one of the things, I can't remember who the quote is from in Stoicism, is like everything's happening exactly how it should, right? Like it's not you can't control what happens, you can only control your reactions to it, right? So we're reacting correctly, we're able to just control the way we react. Like that's so many of your problems are solved right there, right?
Yeah. And I mean, even like I found that when my time was more finite, like when I was, using it, I guess more, I was doing more things, the more present I was when I was doing those things because I kind of had to focus on it more.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I agree with that 100%. Keeping yourself busy, you get so much more done and you are definitely more present. And if it's things that you're passionate about and it's like you're actually in flow state, you don't feel like you're forcing yourself through tasks, like you're actually enjoying it. And sometimes it feels like you're almost like you take a step back and you're kind of watching yourself operate and move from task to task. And you're just like I kind of pump myself up sometimes because I'm doing like so much throughout the day. I'm just like watching myself and like saying like, holy fuck, like I'm doing this shit. Like, and I'm like, just like giving myself a pep talk as I'm doing all this shit. And then at the end of the day, like it's such a good feeling to get to the end of the day, knowing that everything was like just down to the minute. You enough time, but you got everything done that you wanted to. You spent the time with the family. You didn't react negatively to anybody. And then now you're ready to fucking get up and do it all over again. Like it's just such a good feeling.
Yeah. It's actually, that's something I've been studying recently. There's this thing called the zone of proximal development. Have you heard of that?
No.
It's like it's basically a measurement, and they found that to keep people engaged, like the number one way to keep someone engaged, there's this place called the zone of proximal development, and it's like enough stress outside of your comfort zone to engage you, but not too much that it's like overwhelming and you want to quit. Like it's like that perfect spot that's like 10% outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah, it makes so much sense. It's like being in flow state, right? It's like when you're doing something that you're so into and you don't realize time as it's passing, right? Like it's just kind of, it's happening. It is enough stress just to kind of keep you pushing forward. And then yeah, like you don't, like time goes by so quickly when you're doing that. It's really, if you can manage to do that as you're moving through your day, then you know you're doing something right.
Yeah. And it's like, it just speaks to a lot of like the way that some people try and live their lives, because you could live 100% in your comfort zone and you're just kind of like, I could give you like some stupid easy task to do. And then when
Yeah.
you're doing that, you're just like, okay, I've figured out I can do this mindlessly. I don't have to keep my brain engaged anymore. And then your mind just kind of wanders until the point where you're like, why am I doing this thing? But then if it's like too hard, you're like, dude, I can't do this. Fuck this. But then if it's like that perfect happy medium, it's like, I
Yeah.
think I can do this better. And it like intrigues you to keep doing it.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I've noticed is like living this living this lifestyle and being that person who does this morning process, gets up and puts in the work, does the workout, the meditation, all that stuff. You could take the same task, like the stuff that we all have to do, that like even like cleaning up around the house or whatever the benign tasks that we all need to do. If your mindset is right, like that same task is so much better. Like you're just like vacuuming and you're like, fuck, I'm gonna vacuum this carpet better than anybody's ever fucking vacuumed before. Or like I'm gonna fucking clean up and my house is gonna look perfect. But like if your mindset is flawed and you like don't even like yourself and the way you feel, it's like, fuck, I gotta fucking clean up again. I don't feel like doing this. Like it's just like completely changes everything, right? So going through those tasks and being able to get into that space, like if you're working on yourself, is so much easier.
Yeah, I find with those things, like for me, it was like kind of like an internal conversation I had to have, because when I did those chores, like my laundry or like washing dishes or like sweeping up the apartment or anything that like that, I'd have like this thought, like, man, this is like grunt work. Like this kind of feels like it's like just like the dirty work. And then I like
Yeah.
had to flip it in my mind to make it like I was like, but I want to live like a king. And a king wouldn't live in like a dirty ass fucking place. A
Yeah.
king would have a clean fucking kitchen to eat or to cook his food and a clean table to sit at, like that's the way I started thinking about it. It's like, don't, I had to have the actual conversation. Like, Mark, don't you think you deserve better than this? Like, come
Yeah.
on, man.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like it really ties back to gratitude, right? Like just being grateful for everything you have and like treating everything that you have like it's the best shit ever, right? Like your house, like everything, like you're just like, and it comes back to treating yourself like that. Like if you're treating yourself like so much love and energy, like you treat everything around you the same way. Like your house is cleaner, everything around you is better because you're just putting that same positive energy into everything that you do, right? And like just on a day-to-day basis, like, and it's such a difference from living in a way where you're hating yourself and then you're wanting more. You're like thinking about other things that you don't have and not appreciating the shit that you actually do have. And it's like that, I think that is like really what gratitude is, and it's actually putting in the effort to love the stuff that you have, not just accepting the stuff that you have, right?
Yeah, I had to I learned that actually the hard way, because when you work in construction, like your tools and your truck, especially when you work for a small
Yeah.
company, like we're self-employed, there's no like big corporation paying for our shit. Like if you run out, like if your tools break or they're not working anymore, if your drill stops working, whatever it is, like you can't make money. So
Right.
it's like you got to take care, even if your stuff, like, dude, some of my tools are like hand me down used tools that I bought off like older guys, or even like my dad's old tools. So it's like 80% working. And it's like,
Yeah.
man, you got to treat it like it's like you have to treat it better than you would treat something brand new.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like otherwise it's on its last legs. Like, and if you don't have it, that's that. You have to either borrow someone else's, which is a liability. And it's kind of embarrassing to just be like, hey, I have to borrow your tools to do a job. Like,
Yeah.
it taught me a lot about, like I have to treat my old pickup truck like it's brand new. I have to take care of this thing, because if it doesn't go, I don't get to make money, and then I can't
Yeah.
pay rent.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's just like it's crazy how starting with yourself, just bleeds into every area of your life, right? Like you're just like everything external. It's like really, that's what I mean. Starting at the root is starting with how you feel about yourself, and then if you start building from there, it just naturally flows into every area of your life.
It's funny you say that, man, because especially in line with meditation, my girlfriend's super into like yoga, and anytime I feel like unbalanced or ungrounded, she's like, "You got to balance that root chakra, man." It's
Yeah,
like what she always says to me, dude. She's like, "You got to go sit, dude." Like
yeah.
it's so funny, man. But how did you kind of like? What was like your introduction into like the Stoic philosophy in general? Did you have someone like give you a book? Did you just come across it on like YouTube, or like how did you kind of get into it?
I started following some pages on Instagram. I like some stuff started, something popped up. I can't remember exactly how, but yeah, I just like, I think it was probably because I was in the right mindset to like see it and accept it. Again, like something just hit me and I was like, oh, this is interesting. Then I started going from there, and then I ended up ordering Meditations, Marcus Aurelius, and I've like read pages of that book like I don't even know how many times, right? And it's just like that kind of was the introduction. And for me, it was like, let's see if I can explain this. It's like this whole thing, this whole journey, and the stuff we're talking about. Like before living the other lifestyle of just being that guy Monday to Friday, drinking on the weekends, and like I always felt like I wanted to do something. Like if I did something, I always like took it to the extent, like the next level. Like when in my younger days, like when I partied, it would be like I'm fucking partying properly. Like it'd just be like I'm going all out, right? And then now, like when I'm like, okay, if I'm getting into this meditation and like whatever, like it needed to be something that was like deep, like it had to like hit me deep. And I feel like out of all the stuff that I see, like the Stoic philosophy, it's like completely like removing any bullshit. There's no beating around the bush. It's just all straight hard truth. Like who the fuck are you, right? Like in this moment, who are you? Like forget about your emotions, forget about what you feel like. That doesn't matter. It's like, how are you going to deal with this? It's happening no matter what, right? Are you going to man up, and are you going to face whatever is happening in your life, and how are you going to let it shape you? And I feel like that is like it's missing in the way a lot of men are, the way the society is in general these days. Is like we're just so consumed by what we feel like doing in the moment. Like, oh, I feel like eating this, or I feel like doing this. But that, like the some of those quotes and that we see in like Stoic philosophy, it's just like it makes you really it makes you uncomfortable to the point where you're either going to bitch out or you're going to man up and live by it, right? And that's something that really appeals to me, and I think that's what keeps me going deeper and deeper into it.
Yeah, when you first got like meditations, did you get like a newer translation or an older translation?
I believe it's the newer translation, because I when I was gonna order it, I was reading some shit online. Is like the older one is like harder to understand. So like I should get the newer one, because I don't want it to go completely over my head, right?
Dude, that's exactly what happened to me. I bought an older translation and it took me weeks to read it because I just like was like barely understanding it. And it just like it seemed out of context. So I ended up having to read it twice. And I had to like watch a bunch of YouTube videos to have it explained to me properly because I just, yeah, it was, and my reading level's fucking, it's just garbage anyways. I really have to try hard when I read, but it's, yeah, I got an older translation. I gave it to a buddy of mine as well because after I finished it the second time, I was like, holy man, like so many more people could benefit from this.
Yeah, yeah. It's like some of the things like that you see in that book. It's like you've never seen, or if you've never read, or you don't know read about Stoic philosophy, or you don't know anything about it. It's like really makes you question how you're living your life. Like what were you meant, like were you meant to huddle under warm blankets and stay warm, like when you're trying to get up in the morning, right? Like shit like that is like, fuck, how can you sleep in after you read stuff like that and it really hits you, right?
Especially knowing that this guy's like the emperor of Rome. Like it's like he could do anything.
Yeah.
Like, and if
Yeah.
he is thinking these things, like why does a guy like me who still has to think about his bills, every now and then, like why do I think I can rest?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, yeah, if you really, man, you take a step back and look at how easy we have it compared to even not even back then, a lot of other places in the world right now. And like the things that we complain about or we call hard, it's like really laughable. Like our biggest problem, a lot of our biggest problem is that we have too much. Like we're just way too comfortable. So like, and reading some of that stuff and then just like applying it to your life, living in this way, it's just, it's from the outside looking in, it looks hard, but from the inside, it's so much easier. Like just like you're mentally and like emotionally, you're just so good with yourself. It's just like there's no other way. And I know you probably feel the same way in a lot of ways about that. But it just when I talk to some people who are just so caught up in that lifestyle, and like it's a lot of younger people too, like some of my younger friends or cousins or friends younger siblings, and I'm just like, dude, that that life you're living right now, one day you're gonna look back and you're gonna say, fuck, I wasted a lot of time. Like that yeah, it's so huge.
Yeah, man. I feel that for sure, dude. Cause it's like I always look back and think, what the fuck was I doing?
Yeah.
Always. Like literally always. I don't think there's ever been a time other than the last couple months where I could look back at the months prior and be like, and mind you, I'm pretty self-critical, but like I just always look back and I'm like, I could have used that time better. I definitely fucking, I coerced myself into chilling too much. That's what I always think, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's looking like over the last, like since I started changing my life and living this way, like I feel like I've gotten so much more done, like in this last like year and a half, 2 years than like the previous years, like so many of them combined, right? Like I would always feel like I would never had enough time, like go to work, and it would always feel like a rush. And then now it's like I get up so early, go through the day, and I'm still busy all day long, but I'm just like I'm making so much progress and getting so much done. It's amazing.
And I think the other thing that from that book that really stood out to me, and again, this is like everyone's kind of the cool thing about this, like kind of philosophy is I feel like everyone's gonna pick something that they love the most out of it.
Yeah.
But the when you were referencing, I think it's like book 5, like the very beginning of book 5, when he's thinking like, am I meant to just like stay under these blankets? Like,
Yeah.
but for me, that was my favorite part for like a long time. And
Yeah.
then when I revisited the book, it was actually the very beginning when he talks about like from this person I learned this, from my grandfather I learned this, from and it just caused me to kind of reflect back on all the people that I've taken for granted in life, like kind of coaches that I've had growing up, or teachers, or my parents or my uncles, or even cousins or friends. Like I always, I guess, forgot to look at the good in a lot of people around me, because I kind of was just looking inwards, and not in the sense of like how can I improve, but looking inwards of how can I get more. Like it was like a selfish
Yeah.
inward looking. And it just kind of made me look at people differently, because like I said, I dealt with kind of like this weird uncomfortable feeling. Other people that maybe using family and friends is a too easy of an example, but then I had to reflect back on people that I didn't like, and
Yeah.
think about the value that they added into my life, because I've always had a tough time viewing people that either made me upset or in my eyes screwed me over. Like I had a tough time forgiving.
Yeah.
And that book, it caused me to reflect on the people that maybe I felt wronged me, and then I could reflect back and think, well, what did they teach me?
Yeah. Absolutely. It's just like you just hang on to the one negative thing. Like it could be like could have been like a years of friendship, and the one bad thing that might have happened, you're just dwelling on that one thing, right? And it's kind of like, it relates to like our day-to-day lives. Like sometimes we could be having the best day, the best month, the best year, and one negative thing happens and we're saying like, fuck my life, look at what happened. And it's like, look at everything that did happen, look at all the good things that happened, right? And the same thing with those, like those relationships over the years. And it's funny that you mentioned that. It's in those pages, reading through those, it helped me so much in coming to terms with like a lot of resentment and things that I was holding on to as well, like with different old relationships with family members and like things that have happened in the past. Like same thing, like it could have been one or two negative things, but I wasn't looking at the positive side of it. So that's definitely, it was massive for me as well.
Yeah, and just to build on that, I think as well, like to look at that negative emotion that I felt and understand that like that's not a bad thing. Like it's okay to feel that negative emotion. And there's a lesson behind the negative emotion. Like that's supposed to be, it's only painful if you try and sweep it under the rug. Because when you actually address it, then it's not painful anymore. It's like, hey, I learned this thing. It's like if you pay for a course, but then you don't get the course, you just have the suffering, like the pain of you giving your money, but then you don't learn the thing.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it's so important to have that mindset in everything, because there's always going to be things that happen that we technically don't want to happen. It's not, there's no avoiding it, right? But if you can take a lesson from everything that happens, then it's not always a bad thing, right?
100%, man. Do you think, how old are your kids, if you don't mind me asking? You have two boys or?
Yeah, two boys. They're 3 and 6. Well, my younger son turns 3 in February here, just on the 12th, so it's coming right up. And then my older son 6, his birthday's in September.
My cousin has the exact same age gap. He's got a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old, and man,
Okay.
they just handfuls, man.
Yeah, it's good times, man. Loving every minute of it. It's high energy all the time in our house. So it's me and the boys, and then my wife's completely outnumbered. So I kind of feel bad sometimes. She has to
There's too
do.
much toxic masculinity in that
Yeah,
house, man.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, she comes in sometimes, and we're just like all wrestling. Everything's a little bit of a mess. So it's fun though, man. It's so much fun.
Is it all out war, man?
Yeah, yeah. The basement's kind of our area. It's always a little bit of a mess upstairs. We try to keep it somewhat tame, but
That's wicked. And when did your 6-year-old get involved in sports? Is this like his first year, or was he already playing sports?
he was playing. We had him in soccer this past summer, but we've had him in some type of sports basically since he was like 3. So like he was in like this thing called multi-sport, like where they play like a different sport every week. And then we had him in skating lessons in like 2019, and then 2020 everything was kind of shut down. And then this year is his first year in hockey, like in like actual hockey, and he's loving it. Like I have to wake him up early every Saturday and Sunday basically, but he's usually, the first few minutes dragging him out of bed is a little tough, but once he gets going, he's good. He's excited to get in there. And it's so amazing. Like from the first day, he was kind of rusty because he hadn't skated in a while, and then till now, like so awesome to see all the progress, and it gives us like something good to do together, something positive as well. And yeah, it's just like even that, like thinking like how I would manage that if I was like waking up not really feeling 100%, getting up early on Saturday and Sunday, it would be tough.
Do you get some before the work, or do you get some before his practice? Like you go out and do like a little exercise yourself?
Yeah, for sure. I get up early 7 days a week. Like I'll be up before the family every single day. And Saturdays and Sundays I usually work out at home. So I'll do like a little workout in the basement. And then Monday to Friday I'm in the gym.
Nice, man. Do you like what's your like typical wake up time? How did you decide your wake up time? Like what's the?
So it started like I started waking up around like 5, like when I started this whole process, and then slowly I found like I needed more and more time, and now my wake up time's 3:30. So I wake up at 3:30 every day.
Holy shit, man. You're the first person I found that that consistently doesn't have to, but does wake up before me. Because the only people, my rule is before 5. So I'm usually around 4:15 ish is my like daily wake up time. Like my first alarm. Well, I have got 2 of them, and the other one is my safety, but I typically don't even ever use it, and it's across my room. But
Yeah. Yeah. So you have to force yourself out of bed. I
yeah,
need
yeah.
to actually, I need to get an alarm clock, because then like I want to like get the phone out of the bedroom, just because it's like tempting
That's
to
what.
look at your phone right before you go to sleep, and then like all the fucking the signals and shit are not supposed to be good for you beside your head, right? But
Oh, dude, I don't doubt that at all. But for me, it's because I'm a YouTube junkie, man. I'll sit on YouTube for hours. So I have to like literally not have my phone by me. Otherwise, I won't sleep, man. Like, and screens kind of impact me a lot. I can't look at screens before bed, man. It fucks with my sleep. So I
yeah,
don't know. I feel like everyone kind of has like their things that they're more sensitive to. But if I eat or if I'm looking at screens right before bed, I'm staying up for like another hour.
yeah, that eating, like I need to eat like at my last meal has to be like at least like 2 hours before. Like if I eat too close to bedtime, then it's not that great of a sleep. So, and when you're like the sleep time is fucking tight, right? Like it's scheduled. You need to make sure you're getting quality sleep. You can't really screw around and say, oh, like I'm gonna sleep in tomorrow because I didn't sleep that well. Like when it's non-negotiable, you're getting up regardless. You got to make sure that that sleep's on point.
Yeah, man. But I had that same experience though. Like I remember, so it was right after I stopped working at that gym I was telling you about earlier. I had no job pretty much. I just had like a couple months savings stocked up. So I was like, okay, I'll quit my job at the gym. I'll see if I can start like an online drop shipping business. Like that was my getaway plan, you know? I'm like, I'm
Yeah,
gonna start an online drop shipping business in the next couple months and live off savings. And that clearly the drop shipping wasn't very successful, but I over that like span of 3 months, the first month I didn't have any structure in my life. I was going to the gym because I've always been in the gym, but that was the only structure I had, because it was like I can wake up whenever I want, go to sleep whenever I want, eat whatever I want. Like there's no, like literally it was my first taste of nobody telling me what to do ever, you
yeah,
know? Like I've always had a job, or I've never had that experience before where I wasn't either in school or at a job. So it was like the first time. And the first month was wicked. And then the second month, the depression hit pretty bad, because I'm like, my life is just video games and sitting on my computer trying to make money. Like this sucks. And then I go to the gym for an hour every day. Like this is
yeah,
garbage. And that's how it started for me though, was like I'd get up at 7 and it was like kind of like fall winter time. And the first like bit of pride that I had was I'm going to finish my routine before the sun comes up. But then as like it became like spring and then summer, it started getting earlier and earlier. So I was like, yo, I got to get up earlier, man. I got to beat this fucking sun to work. Like that's the
yeah.
way I thought of it. And yeah, it dialed back from like 7 to 6 o'clock to 5 o'clock. And then I heard like some guy on YouTube, he's like, you have to get up before 5. And I was like, that just sounds more gangster. You're like, I'm up before
Yeah.
5 every day.
That's actually one of the things that like for me, my mornings are like, it seems like crazy, like fucking 3:30. Even like thinking about it seems crazy, but if you actually look at the like everything I do in the morning, like I still like by the time I'm like getting the kids, like helping get the kids ready and getting them out the door to go to school, like everything's like that last bit still like a little bit of a rush. But one of the things that keeps me motivated is like nobody's fucking getting up before me. Like I'm fucking that's one of the things that like keeps me, like you said, like it just sounds gangster, like getting up that early. Like fuck yeah, I'm getting up that early.
Yeah, literally, that's like my favorite thing. Like, and people are like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, even when I'm like, "Yo, are you kidding me, dude?" 3:30. I've done it a couple times, but I definitely could. I don't think. Well, no, I shouldn't say that bitch shit. I could do it if I wanted, but I dude, that's nuts, man. That's absolutely nuts. What time are you in bed? 8 o'clock.
No, it's usually around 9:30. So I usually get like a solid like 6 hours in. Sometimes a little bit earlier if I can, but after our kids are usually in bed around like 7ish, and then like I need to have a couple hours spend some time with the wife as well. So gives us some time to chill. And then sometimes in the evenings, like my wife has her own business as well. She's a photographer. So she's working and she's like editing and stuff. And then I'll be on my computer doing my shit, like updating. Like I have like coaching clients. So I'll be like updating programs or setting up new people. So we're both just kind of sitting there doing our little grind in the evening, talking. And then it's bedtime, then time to get up and and then get after it.
Dude, that's so funny, dude. My girlfriend's a photographer as well. She does like
Oh, nice.
photography and brand design. So like that's like on Sunday mornings we go. That's why I say like it's more laid back, my morning cardio, because we'll just go for walks and she'll take pictures and then
Okay.
like our evening routine is really similar. We kind of sit down at the table. I'll be editing the podcast. She'll be editing her photos, which takes forever. So it gives me a
Yeah.
lot of time and a lot of the time it's like couples, we kind of talked about this because like couples normally like, they spend time sitting and watching Netflix and eating junk food. It's like, well, you're not talking to each other when you do that. You're just kind of enjoying each other's company. And that's what we're doing. Like we're just sitting,
Yeah.
and it's not like that's our quality time together, but if you're spending time in front of screens, you might as well be doing something that's productive and making you actually
Exactly.
feel good.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like I really fucking hate the rules. Like you have to like do certain things, if you're spending time together. It's like, you know what? Like you're as long as you're spending time together, you're both happy, who cares? And it's like you're doing something positive, you're working, you're putting in that work, trying to make progress. Like what's better than that, right? And it's like I feel like a lot of people just get caught in that trap of doing what they think they're supposed to do instead of just doing what they actually know they need to do, right?
Yeah, we're just as well like it's nice to have someone to bounce ideas off of. Like it's like when you can
Yeah.
get like an honest, like when you're, because I know like for me, like even episodes like this, like there's so many times where I'm gonna be like, okay, I want to take like a 1 minute clip of that and throw it on Instagram because it sounds good. Like it
Yeah.
sounds like something that people will fuck with. And then I'm always like, I'll clip it and I'll be like, yo, what do you think of this? Do you think that I sound pretentious here? Or do you think that it sounds like kind of, would you resonate with this or am I being a prick?
Oh no,
And
100%. Yeah, for
and
sure.
then same thing like for her, like she can bounce it off me. She's like, how does this look? How does this edit look on this
Yeah,
picture? Like,
exactly the same, man. My wife does the same thing. Like she'll show me the picture, like, okay, is it lighter or darker? Which one do you like better? And then like she'll like post, she'll be like, okay. And then sometimes she'll agree with me. Sometimes she's like, no, I like this one better. But yeah, it's awesome. And we've actually like just recently had this conversation with like just like in general, like not just us two, but like the people we hang out with. Like we want to be around people that are like positive in this way and like lifting each other up. Like uh, I know in the past, like when especially when you're younger, like it's just cool to sit around and make fun of each other, right? But like now that we're older, like it's like you just want to be around people who are actually like maybe making you a little bit uncomfortable, pushing you a little bit, but in a positive way, and then just like lifting each other, right? Like that's so much better, and we really need that, like in order to continue to make progress. And like you don't want friends that are just lying to you to keep you comfortable, right?
oh, that's the biggest thing is like I had to really think about that because I used to get really uncomfortable when I would ask my buddies, like say, like the first couple of videos I made, I would be like, yo, how do you like this? And they're like, bro, it sounds watered down. It doesn't sound like you. Like that's not how you talk normally, or that's not how you talk to your buddies. Like if you
Yeah.
were actually trying, he like I remember having a conversation with a friend of mine, and he's like, if you were actually trying to motivate me, like the way you actually motivate me, bro, like it would be nothing like this. And I got so mad. I'm like, what are you talking about, man? Like I'm trying to make this good for everybody. Like
Yeah.
that, I couldn't take the criticism because I was so used to having my friends being like, bro, good job, man. Good to go. Like, I had so many yes men in my life. And so like when I first encountered people like, bro, like you need to speak more authentically, or you need to say the things that you would normally say. Like it felt like criticism because my ego was so big. It was like,
Yeah.
I got defensive and I got mad. I'm like, how could you attack my work like this?
Yeah. Yeah, that ego, man, that ego gets you. But it's so important to drop that, like especially like if it's somebody you trust, like, and you know they're not steering you wrong, then you can definitely gain so much by dropping your ego, listening to that person, and just taking it. Sometimes like I'll do that, but sometimes I just follow my heart anyways. Like even if the person's telling me, I was just like, nah, you know what? I respect your opinion, but I'm good with it. I'm gonna go with this way or whatever, which is cool too, right?
Yeah, I tend to like I kind of just being reflective. I tend to listen to people if they're like, you should maybe incorporate something like this. I'll be more inclined to listen to them. But if they say don't do this, then my instinct is always like, yo, I'm not going to let someone else silence me. Like that's kind of the way that I roll. Like it's like if you want me to add, I'll add to it. But if you're telling me to take something, like you can't take the mark out of Mark, like that's kind of the way I look at it.
Yeah,
Like it's
got
like
it. Yeah.
you can't take it away from me, but I'll add to it if you think that there's something missing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, same thing. Like sometimes I'll do that. I'll it's mostly just with my wife. I don't really like nobody else is really around when I'm putting my shit together, or like whatever. So I'll bounce ideas off of her, and then sometimes I'll add in stuff. Sometimes I'll get her to like if I'm writing a really long post, I'll get her to like proofread it a little bit because there's been times when I post something and then I read through and there's like fucking mistakes in there or like I'm bad for that. So she'll do a quick read through and make some edits and stuff. But yeah, it's nice to have those people around you that can that you can bounce ideas off and that can help you, right? We all need that.
Yeah, my experience is the exact same. I always get sent back my own posts after I make them, and she's like, "Yeah, you have 4 spelling errors, and this doesn't make any sense." And I'm like, "Fuck."
Yeah. Yeah, good thing is you can like if it's quick enough, you can always edit it. I know with like if you're posting reels and you have shit written in there, then it doesn't let you edit those. But learned so much about the whole Instagram game over the last year or so here.
Yeah, dude, me too. I've always had like this kind of hatred for social media in a sense, man. Like I always said like I'm not going to use it. I was like I'll just use it until my podcast gets big enough until I can hire someone to run my social media. That's like the way I've always thought of it, man. But
Yeah.
I'm starting to appreciate a little bit more of just like I think I was just taking it too seriously before. And I
Yeah,
realized that it's like if this is going to be a reflection of me, then I'm going to fucking have fun with it, man.
absolutely. I've made like I can't even count how many like positive connections I've made like through social media, and like a lot of people look at it in a negative way. It just depends on how you use it and what you use it for, but it can be really like a positive tool. Like I would have never talked to you if I wasn't on there. So it's just so many people, and then so many of the people that I've ended up like coaching and like clients that have been through there. It's just a matter of how you look at it and what you use it for sure. I think it's an important tool, and it's good to be on there. I think because whether we're on there or not, everyone, a lot of other people are going to be, right. And there's a lot of shit that's negative on there, so it's good to have some positivity on there too.
And that was part of it with me because I remember being you know, like in a fucking dark state. You know, I remember being in a really dark place in my life where I was like really depressed and I think there was like even the fact that I'm still like that YouTube junkie, like that was how I was as a teenager, man. I found YouTube when I was like 13 years old. And then after that, it was game over. Like I was a YouTube junkie. And I'm thankful that there's people on YouTube and people that you can find on social media that kind of give them positive message because I feel like that was part of what helped save me, man.
Yeah,
And I say that literally, like literally saved my life because there was some dark times, man. And I just think back to that and I think, you know, and you probably resonate this with this, man, because I don't think that people would share the type of content that you kind of share without wanting to. The way I look at it, and you kind of alluded to this, is like I want to give the message that helped me. I want the kid that's out there that's 15, 16, 17, 18, early 20s, who's just like floating. I want them to see one of my posts and think, fuck, man, like I'm not alone. Maybe this can get
absolutely.
better, man. Like
Yeah,
that's become my obsession.
yeah, for sure. That's I definitely resonate with that. And a lot of the times when I'm saying something or I'm posting something, it makes me a little bit uncomfortable. Like, should I say it in this way? But then I go back to exactly that. Like, I need to share this in the way that got through to me. Like, I can't receive a message in a certain way, and the way I view things and the way I see things is what changed my life. And now, just because I'm trying to appeal to more people, or I think this is going to be more comfortable for everyone to digest, I'm going to change it up. I can't do that. That's just me projecting my own insecurity onto everybody else, right? Like, if it's making me uncomfortable, that doesn't matter. I have to share it in the way that fucking got through to me. So a lot of the things, like, I might like straight up be like, you're a bitch if you do this, like on my post, right? Like, and like, I don't want to say that, and I'm sure a lot of people don't want to hear that, but there might be that one person who sees it and says, fuck, I'm being a bitch, I need to change, or whatever the case is, right?
No, 100%. Because I think back to, and I talk like that a lot of the time as well. I try not to, well, I mean, it's not even that I try not to, I swear all the time in my podcast, man. But
Yeah.
I just, I say it in a way that is, that coincides with my internal conversation, because I
Yeah.
want to click that. Like, because I don't know about you, but that's basically how I talk to myself, man. I'm like, why are you being such a little bitch, man?
Yeah.
Like,
Straight up.
you know, how come I went into the bakery and bought a bunch of cookies and then fucking ate them as if it was like nothing? You know, that's like little bitch move.
Yeah.
Like, that's like, come on, bro. You couldn't stick to your fucking meal plan. Like,
Yeah.
seriously, like you
Straight
set a
up.
plan and you couldn't do the thing that you said you were going to do.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I'll never say anything to anybody that I don't say to myself, right? So if I'm talking to myself that way, and that's the same thing that, and I think it's the only way it comes across as 100% genuine is if you're just being yourself, the same way you talk to yourself, the same things that you like to hear, that's what you're sharing, right? Like, I don't, like I said, like, if you're living it, and it's like, it's not just, you're not trying to get a message across, you're not trying to do something in a certain way that you think everyone, you're just being yourself, you're just being you, you're living your truth, and you're just expressing that, right? And it comes across how it comes across, and the right people will hear it in the right way. Like, whoever needs to hear it that day in that way will it'll get through to them.
Yeah, I literally remember being in high school and like kind of they have like those assemblies where they have like maybe a doctor or a counselor come in front of the school and they talk about like, you know, anxiety or mental health. And I remember like any time that was happening,
Yeah.
you know, it didn't, the dots weren't connecting. Like, and I was, you know, I was like that. Well, and I think that every like young, especially young men, but I think all young people are kind of like this. Like, I think people in general, when they see that kind of, when you're like 14, 15 years old and
Yeah.
your biggest, you know, fears are, you know, what does this girl think about me? What does this boy think about me in school? What is it? What do my buddies think about me? Do they think I'm a cool guy or do they think I'm a little bitch? You know,
Yeah.
do like you have all these thoughts going on, and then you have some person that comes up who's like maybe just graduated, trying to start their career as a counselor, and they're kind of just coming up and talking like, you know, they're in their late 20s maybe, and you're like, this guy doesn't know what I'm doing, like I'm going through
Yeah.
this guy doesn't
Doesn't
get
get
it, like
it.
he's like, you know. And
Yeah.
I just couldn't resonate, I couldn't connect with any of those people, but I just like, and that's why, you know, probably why I talk the way I talk, because that's, you know, it's like I'm yelling at my past self. I'm like, come
Yeah.
on, man. Like, this gets
Yeah.
way fucking better. And you're
For
going to
sure.
give up because this guy said this thing to you, or this girl didn't want to go to the movies with you, or whatever it was. Like, it's like, you're
Yeah.
just going to give up and be a little bitch. Like, you're going to be skinny fat for the rest of your life. I remember
Yeah.
saying that to myself. Like, what are you going to do, man?
Yeah. Exactly. That yeah, that internal conversation is like, it could be perceived in a negative way, but it's only negative if you don't do anything about it, right? Like, if you're just sitting there talking shit to yourself and you're not taking any action on it, then it's fucking bad, right? But if you're like calling yourself a bitch, but then you're like, I don't, yeah, I'm a bitch in this moment because of what I did, but I'm not going to do it anymore, or I'm going to change what I'm doing that's making me a bitch, then it's not negative because you're using it to actually propel yourself forward. But just like on that, this kind of on a tangent, but that point of like having those counselors and people like come talk to you, I had that like very similar experience where like you don't know what the fuck's going on. Like when you're in high school, like you have no idea how to like introspect and like understand yourself. And like you have these like people that try to explain things to you. And I think a big part of it is like looking at the person, like, because at that age, you don't, you judge people right away. Like, okay, what does this person look like? Is this somebody I want to listen to? And like these counselors and people, like, they're not anybody teenagers want to listen to. And that's why I think like the health and fitness side of it is so important, because like if you're somebody who looks like somebody that a teenager aspires to look like if you're in shape, you're dressed well, and like everything, like you look like somebody that, okay, this teenager might want to look like you one day, there's a better chance that you're going to be able to get through to them, right? And like a lot of these like counselors and these guys, like the teenager's not going to listen to you. It doesn't matter if you're a fucking genius, like look at you, right? Like it's just, and it sounds superficial, but on some level it is. But in order to get through to people, like it's got to go full circle, like, and you know that that person, like if they're telling you being disciplined and like all these things are important, they're not applying that to their life in every way, right? So like that's why it's got to be like full circle, like discipline's got to be applied to every area of your life. And that, I think that's what gives the confidence to be able to speak and say these things, because you know you're applying it to every area of your life.
Yeah, and I think that even to go even deeper on what you're saying, man, and this is just like you literally just clicked this together in my head, is like it is kind of surface level, and I guess I don't know how to explain it, but it is kind of like I guess judgmental, or just to the fact that we like look at someone and we judge them based off what they look like.
Yeah.
But I think what you're like, what it is actually being done there is like, you can, when you look at someone, you know, it's not just like what they wear. It's not just like what their face looks like. Cause like, you know, if someone's like a handsome guy, or if someone's like, oh, I want to look like that guy, but like, it's more in regards to like how they behave, like how they act. Because like, you know, two men, for example, could be wearing like the same outfit. Like it could just be like a pair of jeans and a t-shirt, like what you're wearing, right? And you could look at like one of them, and if they eat like garbage and they talk to themselves like garbage and they treat everyone around them like garbage, and their clothes are maybe all wrinkled up and their hair is like messy, and they're like, you know, having shit, like, you know, they have like a scruffy beard or whatever it is, like, you know, you look at them and you're like, I'm not taking fucking advice from this jack off. Like,
No, exactly.
there's no chance. But if they're like, you know, they don't have to be jacked, but if they're like, you know, a leaner guy, and they kind of, their shirt fits well, and you can kind of see like their hair is done nicely, like they've shaved that day, or they have their beard is groomed or combed or whatever, like you can look at someone and see like, okay, not like it's and it's not even about like having muscles or having money. Like they could just be wearing jeans and a t-shirt, but you look at that person, you say, you can see the confidence on their face, you can see the assertiveness in the way they speak, you can see the way that they make eye contact with a person when they speak to them, and they treat them with respect, and they're not talking down to them. Like it's the external image, or the external kind of presentation of the actual daily habits, the actual behaviors.
That initially, that's, you see that draws you in, so you're like, okay, I want to hear what this guy has to say. And then you're attracted to that person's energy, right? Because they feel good about themselves, and that's what they're making you feel like. Somebody who's positive is going to make you feel positive. So if I feel like shit, it doesn't matter what I'm saying to you, like you're going to feel my energy, right? So if I'm fucking on point every single day, I feel good about myself, I know like I'm showing up as presentable and I'm positive, and I project that same energy onto you, you're 10 times more likely to take my advice and listen, right? And it's just, it's like, goes back to the same thing, like it's full circle, like it's got to be every area where you know you're living it, and your energy is going to tell the truth whether you are or not, right?
Yeah, I always like look back and think about the people that, you know, influence me the most. It's always people where I'm like, man, I want to be more like that guy.
Yeah, for sure. Same thing. And it's like where you grow up, and like when you're a little kid, like you see all like the superheroes and stuff, and there's nothing wrong with like seeing like and admiring them, right? And then like as you get older, like you see like the guys in the action movies, and whatever. And it's always like a fit, confident fucking guy that you want to be like. And I mean, some of the stuff is kind of not like, it might not be realistic, but there's parts of that where there's nothing wrong with it aspiring to be like that, right? And that's, I think one of the things that it kind of goes back to is like what we're telling people these days is like, just accept yourself and be happy with yourself the way you are. And I think it's so fucked because in like, imagine a kid who's not happy with themselves the way they are internally, and you're just telling them that no, you should just accept yourself the way you are, versus okay, maybe we need to change these things and then you can feel better about yourself, right? So you think you're doing a good thing by just telling them to accept themselves, but you can't change the way they feel inside. So now they might think there's something wrong with them, like, why don't I fucking love myself, and like I'm supposed to, and like I'm this way but I shouldn't be, or what? Like, you're just confusing things, right?
Bro, that's 100%. Literally, you just saw my senior year of high school, because I was always like kind of like a thick kid.
Yeah.
And in grade 12, like I was playing lots of sports. I was playing like basketball and rugby. And I remember like expressing to, like I would never say this shit to my buddies, that's for sure. But I remember even saying this to like, there was like a conversation I had with my mom at one point, and there was like a conversation I had with like the girl I was dating in high school. Like I remember like I would have like a little bit of a gut all the time, and then I'd have like those like skinny fat titties, man.
Yeah.
And bro, I remember having like my girlfriend at the time and my mom telling me like, you're not fat. And I knew I wasn't like fat, but I wasn't fit. And I remember like so many people telling me like, you're not fat, you look good. And there was always this internal like conversation, like, why don't I feel good enough? Like, and I just like, I couldn't visualize myself being muscular. I couldn't visualize myself being jacked. And I remember literally the very first time I ever had abs, I was 19. And I remember having such bad, like kind of like body dysmorphia that I didn't even believe that I had them. Like I would still look down and be like, I can still see fat, man. Like there's still more to go. And just that pivotal point where I had actually achieved what I had worked for literally years. Like I started working out when I was like 15. So like once I had finally gotten the abs at 19, I was like, I did like, holy shit, this is actually attainable for a guy like me. Like that didn't seem like a thing for me. I was like, maybe that's like for the other guy. Those are for the kids that grow up skinny and they can just put on muscle. Like I'll never be like that. Like that's how I thought, like I was like, this isn't even attainable for a guy like me.
Yeah, it's just it's the same limit. It's just like a limiting belief, right? Like by telling somebody like in that conversation, somebody saying that, no, you're good, like you're not even fat and whatever, you're basically, what you're saying is you can't obtain what you want to, so just chill and just stay where you are, right? It's like you're killing somebody's dream basically. Like the same thing is like if I said I wanted to start this business and become this like this person, or like I want to be successful in this area, and somebody said no, you're good, just stick to your job and stick to what you're doing now. It's the same thing, right? Like you're just like holding somebody back. And a lot of the times we don't realize that we're projecting our own insecurities on the person. Like we don't think we can, so there's no way this guy can, right?
That rings true for everything, man. When it comes to business, when it comes to like literally everything, and that's even the journey that I'm kind of on, because like I said, like my father's self-employed and I'm kind of trying to follow in his footsteps. And like I've got a lot of buddies that have a lot nicer like more cushiony like construction jobs, whether they're with a union or they're with a big company that helps them pay for their tools or gives them like a work truck, or they have benefits, like all of these little things. And it's like, man, I think about that and I hear people say all the time, like, do you want to take those risks? Like you don't have benefits for your family, you don't have for yourself, or you don't have guaranteed income. Like what if business just slows down? Like what happens then? And I've had those kind of conversations in my life. And, even just yesterday, I was talking with a buddy about like tattoos, and I was like, we were talking about like, about being employable. And I was like, bro, at this point, I don't think that it's going to be an issue for me. Like, I don't think that I'm going to have to get a job again, because I think from now on, like, I'm just going to figure out how to get paid. Like, I'm going to acquire enough skills that I can always just make a
Yeah.
company or contract myself out, whether it's through podcasting and advertising, but I really don't ever want to go down that route. Or I don't know, like, I'll figure it out, but I don't, especially in the last couple of years, I realized, like, I don't want to rely on someone else for my income, man, because it's just too questionable, especially in the last 2 years.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's sometimes, like, for me, I know it's been this last fucking year and a half, and when this whole journey started, that's kind of one of the things that was on my mind. Like, I'm going to this job every day, but I've always wanted to, like, do something on my own and have my own business. I never really knew which way to go or what to do. And the biggest part of it was because obviously I'm not going to know which way to go or what to do, because I don't even know myself, right? So, like, and I didn't connect the dots in the moment, but so I just started, like, obviously wanting to make these changes. One thing led to another. Like, I went through the whole transformational journey myself, like all of 2020. By the end of 2020, like, for the first time in my life, I was, like, completely, like, shredded. I'd never seen my abs before. So here I am, like, at like 37 years old, in the best shape of my life. And then obviously everyone around me is, like, asking me, oh, how the fuck did you do this? Like, whatever. So I started helping everyone around me. And then now, like, fast forward, I'm, like, coaching people online and, like, literally making money from my phone when I never thought that would be possible. So it's just, like, just sticking to working on yourself and doing, like, what you love on a day-to-day basis. Like, you never know where it's going to lead you, right? And it's, like, just removing fear from the equation. Just fucking go with it, and it's always going to work out.
Bro, I had no idea you're 37, man. I hope I look like you in 10 years, man.
I just so that was, like, so I turned 38. No, what was it? Yeah, I just turned 39 this past November. So 2021, I turned 39. So that would have been 38. I turned in November of 2020. And I was like, I always thought there was something wrong with me, like my genetics. Like, there's no way, you can't ever get ripped and whatever. And it was all, like, the same stuff that you were mentioning from, like, the high school days and everything. Like, you just think it's not possible for you, right?
Nah, but what I'm saying, bro, is you look unreal. Like,
Thank you,
I'm
man.
like,
Thank you.
fuck, dude. I hope I look
Appreciate it.
like you in 10 years, man.
Thank you.
That's fucking wicked, man. That's, like, my biggest fear is, like, aging, because I'm like, man, this is hard now. I don't know what's going to happen in,
Yeah.
10, 15, 20, 30 years. Like, how am I going to keep this up? I keep thinking that to myself, man, but
Yeah,
giving me
you'll be all right,
inspiration,
man.
dude.
You're living clean. Like, I look younger now than I did fucking 2 years ago when I was not living a congruent lifestyle. So yeah, when people say, like, you're not sleeping enough or it's not healthy, I'm like, man, I feel healthy. I look pretty healthy, so I think I'm good. So yeah, just keep those healthy habits going, man. So I think you'll be okay.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. That's what I always say to people as well. I'm like, yo, don't do the things that I do. If you're happy, if you feel good, keep doing whatever you're doing. Like, the goal is to just be happy and feel good for as long as possible. That's the goal in my eyes.
Yeah.
So if you feel good and you're happy and you feel like it's sustainable, keep doing it. But if you don't have those things, you might have to work harder. And I didn't have those things naturally. Like, I didn't feel good. I wasn't happy. I knew that it wasn't sustainable. So, like, I just kind of had to think of it that way. Like, and yeah, everyone's kind of got their own little, like, I guess, necessities. But for me, like, it was like, yeah, I got to do twice the output to feel as happy as the average. Like, that's how it felt for me.
I feel the same way. And a lot of times, like, oh, you get into these situations where you start comparing yourself to other people, and, like, you see, like, this guy is doing half the work and he's so much further ahead. Like, I know it's not healthy to do that, but I mean, sometimes you gotta just put it into perspective, like, where you are, see where you stack up, so you see, like, what moves you need to make or whatever the case is, right? As long as it's not in a negative way. But I do feel like sometimes, yeah, I'm required to do more work to make the same amount of progress as anybody else. But in a way, I feel like that's my gift, is that I have to do that, because doing that is what fucking gives me this mindset of like, I know I can do anything. So it's like, yeah, I have to do it, but it's for a reason. If it came too easy, I wouldn't appreciate it, right?
100%. And I just feel like, especially with myself, like I've been in positions where, like specifically with finances, like when I worked in the gym industry, I was working in sales. And so like that point was probably the point where I was making the most amount of money in my life. And I
Nice.
remember still even living paycheck to paycheck at that point, because I wasn't taught the skills on, what to do with money when you made it. Because
Yeah.
I, like you, I'm a very social spender. And so like when I would get my big commission checks, it'd be like, all right, like I'm going to take a buddy of
Yeah.
mine out for drinks. We're going to go hit like, Cactus Club and sit down at the bar and grab some burgers and then a few rounds of drinks. Like that's how I was like, I got my value from like buying my buddies things. Like that was kind of like my thing.
Yeah.
And it was like my social validation. And but the point I'm trying to make is when I wasn't taught the skills on what to do with the progress I had made. And so like same thing with like when I got abs, I lost them within a few weeks because I was like, I got the abs. And then I started eating fucking sushi every day or like whatever
Yeah.
it was, like I
Yeah.
wasn't taught the skills on how to maintain it.
Yeah. It's such an important point. And it's like, same thing I tell everyone is like, once you do get the progress and you like, let's say it's abs that you're after, you get the abs, you realize that it's the work is where the value lies, right? Like if you can attach yourself to the work and find value in that, you get your result every single day because it's how you feel, right? And then you'll always have abs. But if it's just the abs you're after, you might get them one time and then they're going to be gone quicker than you fucking got them. Like, so it doesn't take much, right? But yeah, just attaching value and finding the value in the work, in the journey, that's the biggest thing, right?
Yeah, and just like that feeling, like when you kind of, because I feel like that and you feel like that, where it's like I have to put in double the work to get the result. And then when you do that double the work, like you're kind of more protective of the result. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah, 100%.
Like for me now, like even though I make less money, I have more money because I
Yeah,
learned the skills of like, okay, now I have to set a budget for myself. And then why don't we take some of this money and invest it somewhere else? Like it was like I had to actually learn the skills of what to do with the money. And
yeah,
now that I'm making less, I have more. Like it's like
yeah,
hilarious because I think back, I'm like, bro, the same way that you were talking earlier about like looking at your regrets, I look back and I'm like, man, if I was making that kind of money now, like I considered it selling my soul at the time when I was working in sales. But I, I
yeah,
was like, I was like, man, if I had that kind of money now, I would be able to propel myself way quicker. So now it's just about like kind of applying the skills that I've learned to do that. Right. Like, and it's just, I've found so much more love for the process, like you're saying, because it's like, oh, this is teaching me the skills. It doesn't matter about how much comes in. It's like, how much can I keep and how
yeah,
can I make it work for me?
yeah, for sure. You definitely appreciate it so much more that way. And yeah, it's just like everything, even with like when you're eating in such a strict way and you know you're only having those meals in the day, like every meal is like fucking Christmas dinner. Like you're like, this is gonna be the best meal ever because you're like, you know that that's all you're eating. You're not just gonna be eating a bunch of bullshit snacks and all this other stuff in between, right?
That's literally how I'm feeling right now, man. I'm getting kind of hungry. So
Yeah.
I was gonna say, out of respect for your time, man, I appreciate that you giving me this much, but I think it's a good time to wrap it up. We're almost 2 hours deep now, but
Yeah, that's awesome,
um,
man. That went by quick.
dude, it flies by when you get a good conversation like this going. It flies by. There's sometimes where I'm like 20 minutes deep, and I'm looking at my clock, and I'm like, fuck, I gotta keep this up for a little while. But I like when a good indicator for me of how good a conversation is how often I have to pee. Because if I'm not focused, then I'll have to pee. So like
Yeah.
I slammed a liter and I think this is 1.7 liters of water and a coffee during this, and I still haven't even felt
Wow.
like I had to pee. So
Yeah, it's been a good
good
one, man.
chat,
I
man.
really didn't know what to expect, but yeah, the conversation went a lot of different places, but it was awesome, man. It was good. It was a good time.
Dude, I love it, man. And I gotta say, I appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much for giving me this little bit of time, man, out of your Sunday.
Well,
But yeah, dude, I really enjoyed this, and you're welcome back. Like, I love chatting with you, man. There's a lot that I kind of learned from you today in just terms of perspective and just kind of you give me hope, man. Like, you give me kind of like, it sounds cliche, but like, you kind of give me hope because I see like guys like you, and it's like I would be happy if I could get myself in a position like that, man. So I appreciate you, man.
it's crazy, man. And this, like, I know we're about to get off, but like kind of like off the record, and just to give you a little bit of motivation, because I know you're probably a little bit younger than I am, and in a different stage of life, man. Like, man, I fucking literally, like, over this last year, I never thought that any, like, what I'm doing right now, I never thought it would be possible. But like right now, I've gotten myself to the point where, like, my side business is making more money than my actual job just by sharing myself online. So just fucking keep doing what you're doing, man.
Bro, you have no idea how much that means to me. That's a fucking dream of mine, bro. If I could achieve what you got, man, I would be so happy, man.
Just keep putting it out there, man. It'll fucking come. Just live it. I know you're living it. Just keep putting it out there.
dude, that it honestly means a lot to me, man. Thank you so much, bro. But
No problem.
yo, before we wrap it up, tell people like where they can find you. It's rd.fit on Instagram.
Yep, rd.fit on Instagram. That's the handle. And then I have a little mushroom supplement company as well. It's at True 22. There's a link to it in my bio on my page as well. That's something that I started in 2020. Just these adaptogen mushrooms. But yeah, so I do online coaching, helping people get in shape and get their mindset right. This past year, I helped quite a few people lose like upwards of 50, 60. This one guy lost like 80 pounds, completely quit all of his bad habits and stuff. So just basically making the transformational journey just like I did.
That's wicked, man. Yo, before I let you go, you just piqued my interest, man, with the mushroom supplements. You got like what you like, lion's mane, cordyceps, like all those kinds of things, or
Yeah, so it's a blend of four mushrooms: lion's mane, cordyceps, reishi, and there's one other one in there, and then there's cacao in there as well. So it's like five different things, and it's just like basically a package. They're individually packaged. You just throw it into your coffee, mix it up, and then you're good to go.
yeah. And dude, that's wicked because just like I'll give you a little plug now because I had to start using supplements like that to I had a lot of concussions in my history,
Okay.
man. So lion's mane is something that is I take lion's mane and cordyceps as vitamins already because of a focus and memory.
Yeah.
After you bang your head around a little bit, man, those things start to fade.
Yeah, I take it every morning, like basically like a natural pre-workout. It gets me going, and when you're having those early mornings, it keeps your mindset on just exactly where you need it without like the stimulants, right?
That's beautiful, man. Well, I'm even going to check that out now. I didn't even actually know about that because that's something that in the last year I've been discovering more and more about, dude. And it's,
Yeah.
I mean, I always thought of mushrooms as like magic mushrooms, which is a beautiful
Same.
thing in and of itself, but there's a lot more behind it. There's a lot of value that I was leaving on the table with those.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's wicked, man. Well, thank you so much, bro. Like that was fucking awesome. And I mean, you got an open invitation. Anytime you want to chat, you got something to say. Like
Yeah,
I'm all
let's do
ears,
it, man.
man.
We
I
definitely do
love
it again.
this. Awesome, man. Well, I'll let you go. Thank you so much for your time, brother. And
Okay.
thank you for everybody that listened to this. Go out and have a good fucking day, a good week, good month, a good year, like we were saying. And hopefully we were able to provide you some entertainment or some value today. So thank you so much, brother. Have a good one. Peace out, bro.
Okay. Take care.
Thank you.